You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast, hosted by Jo Fioraliz and Fioraliz Franco.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Welcome back to the show. How are you today, Jo?
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to the week. The weather has changed here. We're going to be in the 70s consistently, so that's really nice because typically it takes until fucking July for it to get really nice here in the PDX on the regular. So
Yeah. We're in the high 80s, which means the fucking mosquitoes are back. And
Yeah. I just went to the store because I went to a campfire, I guess, bonfire on Saturday. So I'm like, I gotta have some bug spray.
Yep.
Little tiny dry off $9.99. These prices for stuff, they're now, these companies are just unabashedly raising them like $3 or $4, and they're like, what are you gonna fucking do? What are you gonna do?
Right. And I call bullshit because there's certain things that haven't changed prices, and then there are things that have, and I'm just like,
right.
How does that work exactly?
How does that work? Why is toilet paper now so expensive? Post COVID when it wasn't before.
Yeah. And they give you less too. That's the thing that made me mad. It's like, it's one thing if you're going to raise the prices and keep the thing the same. Cause okay, like I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you're paying your employees more, right? So we're spreading the cost or whatever. That makes sense. But if you're simultaneously increasing the prices and making the packaging smaller, I'm looking at you, OxyClean. I'm not on board with that. Like, that's bullshit.
And toilet paper rolls, they just infuse more air into them so that they're not as tightly rolled, right? They're the same size, but not as tightly rolled, so you get less ply. And the other thing is, I don't remember how much were eggs before, because now they're like $3 and $4 a dozen, but I don't remember what they were before.
I think that's how much they were.
They were like, really?
I think they were like $3.99. Sometimes you can get them on sale for like $2.99.
Girl, I'll tell you right now, I never paid $4 for eggs because I am aware of nonsense prices, and I'm that person who's like, I refuse.
See, I'm the type of person where I would go to the grocery store and I would never look at prices. I just wouldn't. Just like, I'm here for food. It's fucking food. Like, I'm just here to shop. I'm not here to do price comparisons or whatever.
Right.
But it has increased to the point where I'm like, wow, yeah, this trip used to be about 30 to 40% less than it used to be.
Gotta tell you guys my story. So I'm in the beer/wine department. I'm getting ready to pick up a bottle to go over to some friend's house. We're gonna sit around campfire and a fire pit in their backyard and shoot the shit. It was really fun, actually. So there I am in the store. And there's two super hot guys. See, I told you I'm on this hot guy, this West Coast, those fuckers with their flat-billed hats. I don't know what it is. So anyway, I'm trying to find, like a beer or something. And there's these two super hot guys. And I'm like, hi, I didn't say anything, but I was like, my energy was all, oh, hey, what's up? So then I'm like, I'm just going to take this bottle here of Menage a Trois wine.
Oh my God.
And this will be the bottle that I'm going to take to the checkout. So I was subconsciously sending them the energy. It's just like, Joanna, you're such a dumbass. I mean, I laughed at myself. It was funny, but yeah. But when it comes to something like that, I would chicken out though. I'd be like, Menage what? No, I'm a chicken.
Just kidding. I was just joking.
I'm just kidding,
dude. I don't envy like my single friends because I just came upon this fucking post about blind date robberies and how to be safe. so that you don't get robbed by your date. And it was like,
Wow, what are
meet at
they?
a police station.
What are they? Are they robbing them at gunpoint or
I don't
something?
I don't know what the origin is exactly, but I'm just like, imagine that. Like, it's already shitty that you have to go and like meet a new person and run this high risk of like having zero chemistry with this person. And on top of that, he might rob you. Like,
It's
he robbed you of
awful.
your time and your purse. Like, that's real shitty. That sucks.
It's so interesting too because all of you, married lovely humans are like, man, I wouldn't want to be single for anything in this particular
In this
climate.
economy.
And yeah, this economy, this, energy, this, climate, all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And I will tell you that it's, obviously it's not easy because I belong to this group. I forget what it's called, but it's one of those stupid Facebook groups, right? That are kind of funny.
Uh-huh.
And they're women who post, and men too, will post pics or screenshots of, assholes on things
Mhm.
like Match.com and Facebook
Yes.
dating, and,
Yes.
just have asshole profiles, and, people will laugh and laugh at them. And so that is amusing. But here's the thing that I take solace in.
Yes.
I still have yet to have that first glance, the first meeting, the first kiss, the first sexual, making love, the first everything.
Yeah.
I still get to have that. And so
Yeah.
I think that, as relationships, obviously they mature, they
Mhm.
also grow in intimacy. So, you have, that quiet peacefulness between the two of you when you're just sitting, right? There's that
Mhm.
comfort, that connection, that's your person,
Mhm.
and I'll get there eventually, but right now I get to have all those amazing firsts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm like, yeah, but
And
you
that's
know,
the beautiful energy to be in, I think, when you're looking to attract that.
yeah,
Instead of being like in fear of like,
yeah,
oh, I'm lonely, like I really need
yeah.
someone or whatever. Like, no, of
Mm.
like, I'm gonna get to have this really
Uh,
beautiful thing and these awesome experiences and
yes.
get to know someone and learn about them
Mhm.
and the beautiful part that is as well. Yeah.
Mhm. The actual being able to create intimacy through connection with somebody,
Mhm.
and the butterflies and, all of that stuff.
Yes.
I've never been that person though who worries about it. I trust my spirit guides. I trust
Yeah.
my spiritual path. I also trust myself. And I think that that's the hard part because I've had my heart broken twice. And the second time was fucking devastating. This was somebody that I, lived with
Mhm.
and, had every intention of, continuing this relationship. And then, it was all pulled out from under me. And so that's when we start doubting ourselves. Well, do I have the capabilities of picking the right people? And so
Mm.
that's when I said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done dating. I'm done having, sex. I'm done doing all of the things until I find out why, or I figure out why I keep
Mhm.
attracting douchebags.
Yeah.
Why do I keep finding myself in, connected to these unavailable, red flag, buttholes. And so that's what I've spent the last very, very long time doing. And so now I just think I'm at a place where I trust
Yeah.
myself to be able to pick, because it's also
Yeah.
reflected in the people that I allow into my life now as friendships.
Yeah,
There
just
are
as friends.
people,
Mhm.
yes, there are people that I really, really like. They're good, solid humans, but they've disappointed me, or they're just not people that I'm willing to invest my time in or give energy to. And
Yeah.
so I have every confidence in myself that I'll be able to do that
Yeah. Yeah.
with a partner.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And I feel like more people can learn that when you're worried about attracting the same person or being attracted to the same types of people, it's that questioning of, well, am I the same person,
I'm not.
that I was like years
Yeah.
ago when I attracted that person in the first place? And if you're not, then you can, be like how where you are in that confidence of like, that's not who I am anymore. There's no way like I'm going to attract that person anymore. I won't even be attracted to him anymore because it's not who I am. It's not where I'm at. And that's huge. Like I hope you give yourself a lot of credit for that, because it's a lot. That's a lot of work.
Thank you. I do. So here's the thing. So I got this book, and it's called Learning to Love Yourself, Finding Your Self-Worth. And getting this book is a result of this last eclipse season that we just went through. And that was the whole point of eclipse. This eclipse season was to bring to the surface that Scorpio stuff, right? Around love and intimacy, but also I believe the other one was in Aries, if I'm not mistaken. And it was, just to bring to the surface the final stuff, the stuff that really keeps you embroiled in your spirit that you just don't see at work. So I'm like, oh, I need to look at self-worth. What do I believe that I'm worthy of attracting and all that stuff? So I got this book, Learning to Love Yourself by Sharon Wegschneider Cruz. That's a weird name, or it's a weird name to pronounce. Sorry, Sharon. And what made me go, yes, I'm on the right track, was the fact that first off, I was drawn to this book from Spirit. So thank you, Spirit Guides. But there's a list of things that tell you where you're unhealed. And honestly, they were like, when you're unhealed, you are this. These are your traits or your tendencies. And I had like one of them, and I was like, God damn. Because when I started this journey back in 2014, I think it was 2013, 2012, I had every single one of them. And I was like, look at what I have done.
Yeah.
Look where I'm not giving myself credit. Look where I'm so obsessed about the lack of this person in my life that that's all I focus on. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm fucking done. I'm done doing that.
Yeah. I was listening to this guy talking about how the patriarchy affects men in the way of how they can't even admit that they've made the wrong choices or that they're not acting in a certain way. And this falls back on this idea that men use women for character development. He made a really, really strong point. It's like, and because I see this all the time. Like I see this repeatedly. I'll see a guy who is in a relationship for a long time, sometimes married, so he'll get divorced, but at some point obviously they break up, right? And then it's like immediately after he's in a relationship again. And sometimes they overlap, right? Like right, that happens as well. But regardless of whether or not there's overlap, they're very quick, like just right after. And it's almost like I thought it was like, are you afraid of being alone?
Right.
But with what this guy was saying was there's way more to it. So the example he was giving of a guy who gets like nagged, quote unquote, by his wife, and she tells him like, you don't clean up after yourself correctly. Like how hard is it for you to put your freaking dirty clothes in the dirty clothes basket? And she tells him every day, every time, all the time. Or he doesn't help enough with whatever. He doesn't do the dishes enough. And he ignores her. Never makes any changes. But then the moment she is fed up and she's like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'm done, like pulling all the, doing all the work, pulling all this weight. I'm done with you. Get out. He goes and he finds someone else. And then for this woman, now he picks up the clothes and he puts them in the bath. Now he'll do the dishes because he never has to admit that he was wrong. He just goes on and he does the thing that needs to be done in order for him to keep a partner, to be part of a true partnership, to be a better person. But he never has to admit that he changed, that he evolved, that he bettered himself. And that's like an effect of the patriarchy.
That's an effect of the patriarchy. That's big. And that's what the problem is. And that's why, right now the focus is on, men being really all of the woes that affect our world, but also really just because they're not being given the space, to be able to explore that in a way that doesn't emasculate them, right? Look, I want my man to be masculine. I want him to be confident and assertive and cocky. And, I'm a Capricorn and I want all that. But I also want him to be vulnerable and in all of those things with me as, his, significant other that he doesn't have to be with the rest of the people. But I just think that when you have that one person that you can really be your true self with,
Yes.
then you eliminate the need to project any other bullshit out into the world because you have that safe space to
Yes.
process it at home. So
Yes.
it does come down to partnership, but women, we are natural nurturers. We are not here to fucking heal you, men.
Yeah.
We are here to partner with you,
Uh-huh.
to build lives together. And it's not their fault or men's fault if they're not being given the space, but it is their responsibility to figure it out and find the
Yes.
space, a safe space. That's
Mhm.
your responsibility. And if you don't own up to your responsibilities, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to keep fucking being a vibrational match for bullshit women.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we are just as plentiful out there, bullshit women, as the bullshit men are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I think that's another great point, that when you're not doing the thing, right? You're not acting in the way that you would expect your partner to act. Like, you're not going to attract that. You're not going to. Why would you have that? Why would you get something better than where you're at?
You're not a vibrational match.
Yeah.
So a really good example is that when I first got to Portland, I met someone, lovely man, super cool guy, kind-hearted, but we were not a vibrational match.
Yeah.
Because I would have eaten him up and chewed him up and spit him out over every single little thing. Like, I'm just too strong a personality. And it's not that I'm being overbearing or assertive. I'm just a very strong, decisive personality.
And you know what you like, you know what you want, you know what you expect.
100%. Yeah. So that's a part of vibration, but he also hadn't done any of the work, none of the work from his divorce. And so it's like, dude, you got to do the work. So, that's the important part. And so when I was also flipping through the book, I've just started it. I'm only like on the second or third chapter. I realized that now that I am this person and I have these traits and I've healed my stuff, I am now a perfect vibrational match for somebody else who has done the work at my level again. So no more. So the only people that I will actually be attracted to, or the only men that I will be, well, no, people, not just men, but people, are people that are also at that level. And that's good. It means I've up-leveled myself and my expectations and, all that stuff. So,
yes. So I'm working on that, on the friendship side. And this is not a sponsored thing. I got on this app. It's called the Peanut app. And it's to connect mom friends, like to get mom friends, which I don't really care about the mom part. Like, it doesn't matter to me, because I even put it on my profile. I'm like, my kids are not that little. And so I'm not trying to make friends for my kids, and so I don't care if our kids' ages match or not. It really doesn't matter.
Can you imagine taking all of them and being like, you guys have play dates? They'll be like, are you out of your
Are you? No, yeah, I know.
Santino's going to be like, I'm not
absolutely
leaving.
Yeah, no,
I'm in the middle of a
not.
game.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely not. No, none of them would have it. So I'm like, look, we just happen to be moms. Like, that's all we need to have in common, and then we can let's work out the rest of the commonalities. But dude, so it's interesting because it's kind of like friendship dating, right? Because you're reading people's profiles and you're like swiping up or down or whatever.
Let's be friends.
And I've never been on a dating app, because by the time I started dating Mike, I don't even think dating apps were really around. I think like Match.com came out maybe like a year or two after. So yeah, I've never been on like any dating apps so this is like the closest I'll get, which I think is hilarious, because I'm like looking through these profiles and I'm like, oh my God, my judgmental like thing starts popping in. And not in generally it's good. Generally it's all good. But there's one woman on there. She was like, I saw her and I was like, oh, she seems like kind of cool just like by appearance. But then I started reading her thing and she's like, I'm a conservative and I will vote Trump again for 2024. And I was like, bitch, fucking swipe down. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I will not be friends with somebody like that. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you put that on your profile? Like,
They
you're not
do.
even giving yourself a chance.
No, they do. Now imagine if you were trying to find a date to a romantic partner and they're all fucking yetis like that, right? Like that's why I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing
No.
online profiles. All right. Anyway, so tell me more because this
Yeah.
is
so
fascinating.
so I put it up there like I have various interests. Like I do not make like one interest my entire personality. So let's just talk. Like let's see what are you about? So I've met a couple of women. I haven't met any of them. We haven't met up with any of them. But then once I got it, this is the interesting part. Once you get on this like vibration, right? Of like, I'm trying to find local mom friends. Then I found someone through Instagram. Like we just started, I don't remember, I shared something. I shared like a meme about like people that don't text you back or something.
Mhm.
And oh, how like I don't have time for people like who can't make plans.
Mhm.
Because it's one thing to always be busy, but it's another thing to like not even try. Like
Right.
because you can book something like we can book something out like a month from now. Like if that's
Yeah.
when you're free, that's when you're free. Let's just do it.
Mhm.
But let's plan for it. But the fact that you're like just saying like, "Oh, we're going to do this, going to do that," and then it never actually gets done, like that pisses me off.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
anyway, so we start chatting and we ended up like we're like, oh well, let's go like meet for coffee and stuff. And yeah, she lives locally and like we're similar kind of journey, and she's working through stuff like releasing religious mindset that she was raised with and stuff. So it's been really cool. But yeah, I think that's interesting how you get on that vibration of like, oh, I set the intention, I'm trying to make mom friends, and then somebody pops up.
Yep. Yeah. It's the same here because I think you've heard about the Seattle freeze, how it's hard for people that move there to make friends and community
Yeah.
because people are so non-inclusive. And it's similar here in Portland. Just people are just not, there've been several friends, even coworkers that I've had that I'm like, hey, let's go do something, and then nothing, it's like, okay. So it's fine. Whatever it is, what it is. Right. But once I started, really figuring out what is it that I'm looking for, and it's not really friends. I mean, it is, but it's more like community. It's
Yeah.
more like feeling accepted or feeling included. So it's inclusivity, I guess, is
Okay.
what I was looking for.
Okay.
And then I just started meeting, people via all of my everyday activities, like doing readings for others and stuff like that, having coffee and stuff like that. So, the universe is going to respond to what it is you're putting out there, in
Yeah.
what the same with your intuitive abilities, the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Peanut. So maybe I'll look that up here and see what type of people, because it would be fun to, get some local people, and also local Portland people, listeners. Oh my God, dudes, reach out to me. Let's go do coffee. Let's go on a hike. Let's go to the coast for a day trip or a day meditation or something like, yeah, I would love to expand my woo-woo friend community here. Well, actually all of my friends here are woo-woo because
it's Portland.
It's Portland, but that's how I get out into the community is through, doing readings and stuff. So, I mean, that makes sense, but it would be fun to go do things too.
Yeah.
Oh, so remember the last time we talked, I told you about a book by Susie Duncan called Zeus is a Dick?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I am now the proud owner of a little hardcover called Zeus is a Dick. So plan to just read little excerpts of it in future podcasts. I'm not prepared now because I've been reading the other book, but I flipped through it and it's really funny. Like I laugh out loud constantly. It's very, very, very good. So we'll learn about mythology and the gods and all that stuff from the perspective of Zeus being a big old dick.
Okay. Very cool. How was your weekend?
It was busy, but it was also really productive. I started Saturday morning. I got up and I just got this surge of energy to create the guidebook and the presentation for my class on May 21st, opening and working in your Akashic records. And my human design kicked in, and I have just kicked ass. So it's like a 64-page document now. So
wow.
if you signed up for this class, or you plan to sign up for this workshop, it's actually a workshop. It's a 3-hour workshop on Sunday, 5/21. And then there are 2 follow-up 90-minute sessions that you don't have to attend if you don't want to, but I recommend that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this 60-ish page workbook. You get all of that
huge.
for just $117.
That's
So
badass.
be sure to snag it and join me because it's going to be a fun class.
Yeah. Oh, so I was talking to my sister this weekend. We were on the subject of angel numbers or spirit guides. I don't remember. So for her, my dad presents himself as a hummingbird for her. And so he'll just, show up when she's outside. And so we're sitting outside in my patio, and then the little hummingbird shows up, and and she's the first one to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we kind of get on that topic, and she's like, I've been seeing a lot of, I don't remember what numbers. I've been seeing a lot of 555s and something. And she's like, but I looked them up to see what they mean, and it doesn't really make sense. I'm like, well, because I don't think that angel numbers are always meant to mean exactly what you would like Google their definition to mean or whatever, because that's just one person's interpretation. I think the best way to take in the message that you might be getting, or I actually take it as confirmation most of the time. It's what you're doing or what you're thinking or feeling in that moment. Like,
right.
what energy are you in? What frequency are you in that moment? And so then what are these angel numbers just trying to reiterate to you, like, yes, we're with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And angel numbers are different than numerology. A lot of times people get those two things, just
mixed
confused,
up,
maybe. Mixed up. Numerology, each number has a very specific energy of it. And what it brings into your life. Angel numbers are 100% inspirational. And while the energy of the number is the same, its meaning is a little bit more encouraging. It's meant to encourage you, Yeah. And there's a ton of different sites out there for angel numbers, but I mean, it, like you said, you get to interpret it any way you want. But like when I see a 555, I'm like, you know what? Things are moving, things are going to be exciting, and things are going to be, fun and everything. Somebody else might see it and be like, oh my God, there's change coming in my life. I hate change.
Yeah. So I think when I asked her that, though, she's like, it's what I've been working on, like creative stuff is when I see it. And that's when I'm in that flow. And I'm like, well, that makes sense because you're in that creative flow. You're tapped into something. And so then it's like your guides, your angels are encouraging you, like, yes, you're on the right track.
Yeah. She's a starseed too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. She's doing a workshop for her tufting.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah. At the end of the month. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And she's giving it, facilitating it. She's teaching others.
Yeah. She's gonna do. Yeah, she's doing a rug tufting. She's doing it at Raincross. Yeah, we're gonna. It's at the 27th. I think.
That's so cool. I hope that she gets all sorts of enrollments and registrations for that, because that is really cool. Anybody could make any rug they wanted to.
It's different, and it's a different form of art. It's really cool. Yeah.
I follow a guy, and I haven't seen something in a long time because of algorithms. I hate the algorithms. On a mini tangent side note, all I see in my socials now are ads and reels. I don't see anything from my friends or the things that I'm interested in seeing.
Oh, really? Then you gotta you can follow people and set if you're talking about Instagram, you can turn on notifications so that it'll tell you, like, you go to a specific person's profile, and then not only do you follow them, but when you click on follow, you do there's like the bell up on top, on the top right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that will give you a notification, and you pick whether you want a notification when they post, when they have a story, a reel, or a video, or if they go live. So if you just want to be notified of their posts, then just do posts. But I do that because there's some like a mid-century furniture vendor that I follow in the area, and when she posts stuff, it goes fast. So I have my notifications turned on because to make sure that like if it's something good,
Oh,
like I
so
want to
you
jump on
can
it.
see it, right? Yes.
Yes.
Same with one of the people. She does rings. She's a jeweler, and
Mm-hmm.
every single time you go to her page, sold. It's like,
Yeah,
bitch,
sold out.
I want to.
That's how you do it. You have to turn on the notifications so that you know as soon as they're posting, and then you jump on your sales. Yep.
Okay, good. I'll do that. So, but the whole point of this was that I follow this guy who actually makes these full size rugs,
Oh
and
yeah.
he does it with the through the process of tufting, and he does
Mm-hmm.
and his rugs are just, oh my god, they're huge, but they're
Yes.
gorgeous. It's like art. So,
Yeah, it is.
and
It's art.
I follow any artist. The other day I saw a dude who put water, or he put paint in like this liquid tray in front
Mm-hmm.
of him, and he made these really cool designs, and then he dipped a hat in it and flipped that hat, and it came up, and that all that design was on the full front bill of the hat, and I was like, shut up. Artists, I
That's
dig anybody that's creative. I follow chefs, I follow all those people that just create stuff, and I'm like, I
yeah.
see
I
you,
follow
fellow
people that
artists.
do tie dye on TikTok. I follow like the home renovation stuff because
Yep,
I live for a room transformation.
I'm sure.
Yeah, anything along those lines, painting, DIY crafts, furniture refinishing or just refurbishing, like love it, all of it. Yes. So that's where I'm at.
We're both creatives.
You have to have a creative outlet.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. That's what drives me. So I'm going to put this out there because I am a manifesting generator, and one of the things that I do is inform people, and
Uh-huh.
then the energy turns into opportunities. I want to learn how to make purses, high-end handbags, and incorporate my metalsmithing abilities in to make resulting buckles and latches and clasps and whatever, any of the metal elements of high-end handbags. I've always been a Coach girl ever since I was like in my young 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought my first Coach. I haven't gone back. Those are the only purses that I carry, or Coach, and it's not because of the brand name. I would prefer to get one that wasn't $300 or $400, but it's because the craftsmanship is all, like, I'll get a new Coach purse and I will just pour over the craftsmanship of this bag, turn it inside out and look at the seams and the stitching, and there's just something about them. So I want to start making purses. So I'm going to put that out there to the universe. This is my intent, and I'd like to do this. Please, thank you. If anybody's out there and they are a purse maker and would like to collab, please call me. Call me.
Well, I just have a quick announcement before we get started. I do have the Cacao Circle coming up. That is Sunday, May 21st at 6 p.m. at Raincross District in downtown Riverside.
Excellent. Okay, so tell me a little bit about it. Like, what's going to happen and what's going on in this cacao ceremony?
So with this, we all sit in a circle. I'm going to set up an altar. So this is to set the intention to do some ancestral veneration, just to kind of say thank you, and also like please be here with us. And so we'll have that set up, and then we'll start with kind of learning about cacao as a plant medicine, like its history, why we use it, all this. And then everybody will drink their cacao, and then I'll take them down through a guided meditation, and then we'll do some I'll facilitate through doing some like auric cleansings, and I'll offer people the option to use rapé if they want some extra grounding. And then after that, then we can just go around in a circle and kind of share everyone's experiences, what they felt, or anything they have questions on. And yeah, it'll just be a nice time to do some deep healing work, because cacao can really facilitate some stuff. So
Yeah. Oh my God, that sounds really awesome. That sounds fun. I want to go do that. All right, I'll be down there. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't because I'm giving a class too that day. Oh, well. All right. Well, if you are not signed up for that and you're in the Riverside-ish area, you guys like, go do that thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, we're
I
just
wish I
trying to
could take
build
part.
community out here. So.
All right. So, hey, what are we going to talk about today? What topic do you got for us?
So I just kind of want to discuss decolonizing our spiritual practices. And
Okay, what's that mean? Tell me what that means.
Okay, so well, for me, it really started with just like questioning why we do anything that's labeled like spiritual and spiritual teachings, practices, all that stuff. Like just questioning it, like why do we do this stuff? Like, and the answer can't for me can't be because I said so. Like that's not good enough.
It's not gonna fly.
Yeah. So for me it's that, and then also releasing that the idea of like organized religion, or that you have to belong to some kind of labeled religion in order for any of your beliefs or practices to be valid.
Yeah, or yeah, okay. So for me, I think that term, and as I'm sitting here, like any of our ancestral, no matter what race or region or religion or creed, whatever we come from, anything that's ancestral that has sort of been taken over or pushed on by like Christianity or,
Catholicism,
yeah, or right, saying, well, you can't do that because, that's wrong, but it's wrong in your religion, not mine. So, okay, good. Well, so this good. Let's get into this. This is interesting.
Yeah, so this for me kind of started. So when I was little, like for some reason when I was a little girl, I loved Jesus. Like I don't know, like and I don't know what it was about him specifically, but I thought he was like the most amazing. Knew nothing about him, by the way. Like I was like 4 years old, and I just thought like he's amazing. I don't know.
Okay, well, can I just say though that typically when children have those unexplained ideologies in obsessions or just adulations, fascinations that are grounded in what, then that means in the life between life phase or in past life you actually had a really positive experience with this person known as Yeshua, Jesus.
Yeah. So
dude,
but then
cool.
So this is where things got like kind of messed up, was because once I started going to Catholic school, which was for me was out my first and second grade, my parents insisted in putting me in Catholic school because they thought that it was going to be like better education or whatever. I don't know, because they figure, I guess, you get what you pay for. I think that was the thinking. But that whole like idea of anything related to like to Jesus in that Catholic way, I was like, I don't want anything to do with it, because it was my experience with the Catholic Church, and specifically like the discipline and the rules. I was like, I hate this. This is awful. I don't understand.
Did they hit you or
they didn't? No, they didn't. My parents did get hit though, and I heard stories of that coming up because both of my parents went to their schools were run by the church. I think that's how it kind of works in the country. But so my parents both had stories of like getting beat by rulers by the nuns and stuff. But no, my nuns were just mean. They were just mean. And they would yell.
Why are nuns fucking mean?
Because they don't have sex.
Well, there we go. There it is, right there. I mean too.
Right? Exactly. We're all bitter. I'm just saying that's my theory.
But what do you think somebody that committed their life to love and all of those Christian fundamental ideologies of love thy neighbor, forgiveness, grace, compassion, wouldn't you think they'd be nice people? But nuns are dicks. Some nuns are dicks.
Dude, I'm sorry, but like Mother Teresa was like,
she was the biggest dick of them all.
Like, I know she did great things for like the poor and all that, and
great humanitarian.
Yes, a wonderful humanitarian, but like on a 1-to-1 level with like the other. Yeah, she was so
an
mean.
asshole. All right,
So
let's talk about nuns later, but I
yeah,
have other stuff to say.
but
Anyway.
that's part of it. So for me, it has been like decolonizing the idea of Yeshua or Jesus and removing him from Catholicism. Like for
Yeah.
me, for my work with him and for my uh just to look up to him like as an ascended master at
Yeah.
this point, and rather than a symbol of Catholicism or Christianity or whatever. And
Yeah.
really it's been knowing that I can quote unquote believe in him without the constraints of Catholicism or Christianity, and that's been super very deeply liberating.
Yeah. He's such a cool dude. He was the first ascended master that I connected with, and I
Uh-huh.
never believed in him. And I was like, and I remember real quick, I was talking to one of my friends, and we were out in the nature and everything, and
Mhm.
one of her guides came through, and he came through as she called him Jim. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, well, hey, Jim, and I was doing some mediumship, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, your guide isn't Jim. She's like, no, no, his name is Jim. I was like, your guide is Jesus. And she was just like, you should have seen the look on her face. It was awesome. But I was like, shut up. And I've been able to connect with him ever since. He
That's so
always
cool.
makes the joke, I am Yeshua, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, that's cool. I love that you had that experience.
Yeah. Um so that's been kind of a long time coming thing for me. Like that's been years, like obviously since childhood. And then I felt like I had to go through that bad negative experience with the Catholic Church in order for me to not want to do anything with it and go in a completely different direction. But then even when I was like a teenager, I think I was like 12 or 13 years old. And I remember being really into like wanting to know about like witchcraft and stuff, right? And
Cool.
so like I was like into crystals and candles. Like my crystal at the time was hematite. I had this hematite bracelet, and it's funny because one of my friends like would always make fun of me for it because he was like, "What kind of crystals is that?" And I'm like, "It's hematite." And then I don't know why he was obsessed with the word hematite after that, and he would always bring it up. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so at that time that's kind of what I was looking into. But I remember I bought this book by one of the Cunningham books, and it was like Living Wicca or something like that. But one of the first things in there was like, if you're going to be a witch, like you have to belong to a coven, like you have to do this and you have to do that. And I was
No, you
like,
don't. No, you don't. Don't tell me what to do.
I don't want to do anything that you say I have to do. Don't tell me
And
what
I'm
to
not
do.
gonna.
No, this sounds like religion all over again. I don't
Yes.
want this. So I got like a few chapters in and I was like, this is not for me either. And so then that's why I decided I wasn't going to be a witch either. Um,
That's what did it. You were
y-
ruined.
yeah, I just couldn't. Yeah, there was too many rules. There was too many have to, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. And now I've learned that that's obviously like Wicca is like the organized, and then there's also you can practice witchcraft and do whatever the fuck you want. So
Right. Right.
so just to straighten that out, I did eventually learn that. Um, the biggest part for me, and most recently, has been acknowledging not just the damage the church caused, like in my own family and like ancestral line, but accepting that at some point my ancestors had to adopt Catholicism for survival because otherwise they would be persecuted.
Persecution, 100%, and that's the root of all of colonization,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
persecution. If I don't, then I'm going to die.
yeah, yeah. So knowing that and then trying to learn more about it. So I have an update for you on my story about my like third cousin that I met with the book. Remember?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So we met for coffee. Um, so we got to meet.
Nice. Nice.
And she got to tell me a lot more things about my family that I did not know. There was one part because so she's a history teacher, so obviously she's going to be a wealth of history information as
Of
it is. But
course, right?
there was this strange kind of story that like didn't really make sense to me that I had heard from my aunt. In the story, that there they started to dig at the sacred mountain in the village where my dad is from, and that there were all these people digging, and they started to pull out artifacts coming out of the mountain, but that there were these Chinese people who were there, and they were taking the things, like taking them to sell them, or just, but they were there to take and taking them. And so I asked her about it. I'm like, how does this make any sense? I'm like, because it feels a little racist. Like, you're just gonna like blame like random Chinese people. I'm like, I've never even heard of this. She's like, no. So after and forgive me for not knowing like the actual terms. She knows the actual terms of like the like enslavement that happened essentially. So there was a period of enslavement that happened in Mexico where they enslaved the native people, and they had the slavery for X amount of time. And then when Mexico gained its independence, I believe, I don't know exactly the timeline, but at some point that was ended and they were no longer allowed to enslave the native people. And so without the workforce that the Spaniards had, or the colonizers had, they brought in Chinese people to come in and work at obviously like cheap or slave labor. So that's why they were there. And that's how they got there. But anyway, it was just interesting of like how in every story, even though like I've heard the story and it doesn't really make sense because they don't have any historical context, there is true historical context behind it. Like once you actually take a moment
and
to
that's
learn.
the cool part about learning the history of things. I think that's why we've always enjoyed including the history of any of the spiritual topics we talk about, because the history is actually sometimes even cooler than the actual mythology process, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I have kind of a list of ideas of things that I've noticed that people do. Then these are methods to decolonize yourself, your life, your beliefs, all this. So this just kind of encompasses a lot of things. So we just kind of talk through them.
Okay, cool.
So one of the first things is land acknowledgement.
Yep, that's popular here.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, why do we do it? So there's a website you can go on. It's native-land.ca. And you can type in, like, you can actually just scroll into whatever region of the world you live in, and it'll tell you what tribes occupied the land in which you now live. And what's the point of doing this? Well, one, it's acknowledging that this land was tended for and cared for by native people at some point, and to know that they're not forgotten and that we're not giving credit to maybe the wrong person. So like recently I've heard on TikTok, I follow a lot of like historical accounts, and like they'll do like little historical snippets of stuff. There are so many towns named after horrible fucking white people, horrible fucking white men.
Yep.
And so land acknowledgement flips that on its head. So instead of acknowledging like, oh, you live in Fremont, California, named after this fucking asshole that essentially performed genocide on native people, where I live on Fremont, which was formerly called in whatever the native land. Because some areas will actually have like a native name to it, and if you don't find that, you can just name the tribe or the tribes that occupy that land. So that's one way to start. Another, and this one's big, is decolonizing your food and your medicine. So although I won't say that like you can cure everything with plants, because I think that there's always a place for some modern medicine, right? When it's required. But I think that there are a lot of things, especially like the smaller ailments, like your cough, your sore throat, that you can take care of at home through natural remedies, and learning like that we have plants that grow locally that are great allies that we can use, for cough. So like there's a plant that I have a shit ton of at home. It's called lantana, and it grows this really beautiful little flower. But I knew it because my mom growing up, she would make a tea when you have a cough. Like that's what it's got like a menthol property to it. So it's really great for coughs and colds. So things like that. And then also decolonizing your foods. There's some amazing recipe books out there to get started on that. There's one actually called, it's like Decolonizing Your Plate, I believe. And it has amazing recipes that are actually vegan. And the author explains like, what inspired her to write this, and where a lot of these recipes come from. A lot of the recipes come from like her grandmother, who cooked a certain way because it was what they could afford. But also it was because what they could gather locally. And when you do that, whether you're growing your own food or you're gathering it locally, you're decreasing the carbon footprint of your food. And so you're helping, the environment, the world as a whole.
Right. Beautiful. I love that.
I've made some really great recipes too, because a lot of it is pretty simple. But yeah, like there's a recipe in there for a mushroom pozole. Corn, like a lot of stuff with corn. Have you ever had atol?
Okay, so tell me what's in it, but the name sounds familiar, and I think I tried it one time.
Yeah, it's usually like a corn-based drink, and it's like it would be like a cocoa kind of like consistency.
I'm gonna say no then. No.
Okay.
Drink. No.
Yeah. So like champurrado is very. I don't know if you ever had that. It's similar. But yeah. So there's a recipe in there for a corn-based one, because a lot of the atoles are usually like now like milk-based, but like we're not really set up. Like if you have a lot of, I've noticed this, if you have like a lot of indigenous blood in your system, like if your body like mine is, like my parents, right? We weren't built for drinking milk. Like we don't have generations of ancestry who drank milk. So our bodies don't really handle milk that well.
It's funny because I have never liked milk. Even when I was a kid, like, and I would only have it in my cereal. That was it. And to this day, that's the only way that I'll really use milk, or in recipes, right? Which I prefer half and half, actually, because typically the recipe that calls for any sort of dairy, you're going to need a heavier cream or whatever, right?
Yes.
I think milk is fucking disgusting. It comes straight from the belly and the teat of a fucking cow. I'm not putting that. No, that's disgusting. I think milk's gross.
It's food meant for a baby cow.
You are meant for a baby cow.
Yeah.
All right. I'm mad now for no reason.
See, I haven't had milk in so long. It makes me so sick.
It's
like I cannot handle it at all. But I thought I was gonna have a hard time giving up cheese, and it actually hasn't been as hard as I thought it was gonna be.
Okay, well, we're not talking about cheese. I'm not talking about cheese.
It's just spoiled milk. I mean, if you really want to,
dead hands.
See,
I love cheese. I love cheese. I love bougie cheese. That's really what it is. So anything pungent and
real fermented,
hard, and yes, just sharp but also just delicious. Yeah, I'm a cheese person. I don't typically buy like cheddar cheese or just to have in my cheese. No, it's got to be bougie or whatever. But
I think the only thing I eat now is goat cheese. That's about it. That's the only thing. So decolonizing your food can equate to removing milk from, because if it wasn't part of what your ancestors ate, and I'm not trying to be all like keto or whatever, what's that shit, paleo, that people are like, eat like your ancestors. It's like, okay, calm down. Like
this is now.
Listen, we're not cavemen. I get it. I know what you're coming from, but also we have grocery stores now. So like,
that's right. That's right. So mind your business.
Mind your business. So, but on that same token, another thing you can add to your decolonizing list is trading when possible, disrupting capitalism. And that can involve your food, right? Like, and I don't know how people are doing it now. But I know pre-COVID, we used to have food trades. Basically, people would meet up at the park and everyone would bring a bundle, right, of whatever they were growing at home or like different bagfuls of like whatever they had grown at home. And then you would trade. So like me,
Oh,
right, in my 5 loquat trees, I
you
could just
trade.
bring a
Yep.
bunch of loquats and then I'll give you a bag of loquats and you give me a bag of tomatoes or whatever. And then, and you walk away with like a box full of different things.
I love that. I love what it stands for. I love what it impacts.
Yeah.
Anything to flip the middle finger to capitalism is, I'm down for that right now. I
Yeah.
love trades. I trade as much as possible. I will trade Akashic services for pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to disrupt
Hmm.
capitalism because we stop depending so highly on money. And and that's just one of the many ways that you can do that, but that's just I think a simple way. Trading services is also that is a simple way. Simple enough, but
Hmm.
you do what fits best for you.
And it's fun. I think it's fun.
Yeah. And then what I've already talked about, like owning your faith and owning your spiritual practices, leaving organized church if that's what feels right for you. But
Right.
if you're looking for community,
Hmm.
it's that reminder that like you have the power to build your own community. Like it just and a community doesn't have to look like 20, 50 people. Community
Mm-mm.
can be small. It can be
Hmm.
a small circle of a group of friends that meet because you've got you know something in common, or whether that's a book club or I don't care, a cheese club, whatever. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. It's whatever brings you together and builds your community. And that's truly the idea of what church is supposed to be in the first place. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be this like
No.
house that like of worship that you go and you give 10% of all your money to every week, and whatever. Don't get me started on that.
What is it called when people after church, then they typically go downstairs and they have a potluck and there's a process or there's a name for it. It's not communion, it's not community, it's fellowship. That's what it is.
Oh,
So that really is what, and I don't know, we should do some sort of podcast, a future podcast about the history of church. How did it start? What are all the different things mean? But
yeah.
fellowship for me is the whole point, and that is feeling inclusive, feeling like you're valued, you're a part of something.
Hmm.
And that's the true meaning in my term or my view of I guess organized religion. It's feeling included, not, if you
Yeah.
don't do this, you're gonna brimstone and hell and fire, and
Yeah.
you have to do this or else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Another form of decolonizing has been the utilization of sacred plant medicines, even those that are, classified by our government as not legal or whatever. But mushrooms, ayahuasca, they're supposed to be aids. Like they're not a crutch. Like they're not something that you take every day for the rest of your life because it's a fucking band-aid. Like it doesn't work that way. These are aids to help you to do the work, to look within yourself rather than to seek that out in another person, and really acknowledge like what am I burdened with, what do I need to let go of, what do I need to understand or look at from a different perspective, all of that. So that's another beautiful thing of how to incorporating using plant medicines. And even something like that is now legal in a lot of states, like cannabis, and the things that a cannabis plant can teach you and can show you, um, whether that's tapping into the frequency of joy or releasing from stress, allowing for a deeper connection to spirit, however it is that you want to utilize that. But there are so many beautiful ways to use our plant medicines. And then this was another thing for me, like again on the same road of decolonizing, understanding the history behind cannabis and how it was made illegal specifically to target brown people, brown and black people, because we were the people that were primarily using it. So it was a very easy avenue to put us in fucking jail. And so knowing that, learning that, and then being like, well, fuck you, like I'm gonna use it now because maybe my ancestors or my family wasn't allowed to legally use it, but now I have that freedom. And like, so honoring my ancestors through that way of like, I can do this.
Yeah, man, that's rebellion at its finest. That's a really good example of outrageous what's it called, righteous indignation or righteous rage or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to touch back about how you talked about sacred plants, plant medicine. They're aids, they're not crutches. And I love that, because one of the sections of my workshop on the 21st, working and opening in your Akashic, or opening and working in your Akashic record, I talk about your connection method, right? What do they use to connect to the Akashic records? They'll use prayer and intention. Some people use visualization. It's different for different people. But I also tell people specifically that I recommend using microdoses of plant medicines such as cannabis, cacao, psilocybin, all those things, because what they do to your consciousness, they open you the fuck up.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying get blue out and then meditate, because if which I've been very vocal about my use of cannabis in my spiritual practices on this podcast. If you're too high, you're not doing shit but falling asleep or going off on nothing is getting accomplished.
Yeah.
So you can't,
focusing on breathing.
Right. I'm just trying to exist. I don't have time for this. So yeah, you're not focused when, again, these plant medicines are beautiful aids that can help you tap into those deeper levels of your consciousness. And they're gifts from our planet, our plant allies. Yeah. These are gifts. And the fact that, they were colonized and thought of as, what do they call it? Like the demon weed or the devil weed or the devil's lettuce, funny, but.
Yeah. Or the fact that they use the word marijuana because that's it in Spanish, and because now it gives you the association with Mexican people. That was what they were trying to achieve by popularizing the word marijuana.
Yep. You know who didn't help? Cheech and Chong. They did not help things at all. They're very unhelpful in pushing against that stereotype. Funny, but very unhelpful.
But perpetuating stereotypes. Another thing, and this is something that I feel like we need to talk about more, is about removing teachers, healers, that from pedestals. Like, don't idolize these people.
Oh, I did a blog post about that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, your teachers are just meant to guide you. And sometimes they don't guide you for that long. Like, they're just there for a small stretch of the road.
Yep.
And they are human too. Like, they're going through their own shit. They're on their own healing journey. They're not perfect. And they're gonna mess up. If you put too much like value into one person, or you put, how do you say that? Like,
looking for your validation outside of yourself.
Yeah. If you do that
someone
too
else.
much, if you do that too much, you're gonna be disappointed. Like, ultimately is what's gonna happen. So yes, like, respect them, because you would respect anyone else just in that same way. But don't place them on a higher pedestal. They're not above you. They're not your boss. They're not your overlord, whatever, because you will get disappointed. So just avoid that, and just acknowledge them for the lessons that they've taught you, for the wisdom that they've brought you, and thank them, respect them, but leave it at that.
Yeah, so two things. So I did a blog post on this, and I came across it the other day, and I was reading it, and I was like, and basically the whole idea was that it's time to discard this idea of like this eternally positive, wise, godlike spiritual work or stereotype, and replace it with the truth that we are all these beings that are just spending time here on earth, not only to, help lift and love each other, but also ourselves. And who are you to place judgments on me when I'm here to help you, but I'm also doing my own thing. And so give me the space.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I wanted to ask you about though, is that, so how does not placing people on the pedestal help with decolonization?
Because it's the same idea when you do place someone on a pedestal, you're returning back to this idea that we've kind of been indoctrinated through or organized religion of like, you can only talk to God through a pastor or a priest. Right.
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, so you're just returning back into that same, because and not not to fault anyone if you have, because it's kind of, we've been indoctrinated for a long time to kind of seek spirituality through one person. But yeah, letting that go, like, we don't have to do that. That's not fucking true. We can talk to God ourselves.
Dude, I was just writing about that this morning, filling out the content for this class. And it's like the Akashic records, the ancient Akashic records, it was thought that you had to be this, incredibly spiritual, chosen by God individual. Like not many people. There were like maybe 5 people in the entire world that, knew how to do this. And now that we've entered into the age of Aquarius, and with my particular focus on just modernizing spirituality, just making it contemporary and accessible, fucking understandable, right? That the Akashic records, they're not some crazy, amazing space that it takes years and years and years to master. They're within your own DNA. Like that's how you access these records, They're not in, this dimension that you have to, travel spiritually to no, dude, they're inside your own DNA. So it's so cool how decolonization, everything really right now is going through a decolonization. Everything's up for grabs, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It is.
This.
It is. And so that brings me kind of to my final point of true, like the ultimate decolonization, I think, is like harnessing the wisdom of your culture, of your own culture, your ancestors, reconnecting to your ancestry, doing the shit that your ancestors were not allowed to do.
Right. Yes. Savage rebellion. Let's do it. Fuck everybody.
Whether it's like herbal magic, brujeria, candle magic, whatever, like even if it was just meditation, who cares? Like engaging with cannabis, do all the things that you are free to do now because your ancestors couldn't, but because your ancestors lived and survived and whatever struggles they had to go through, that's why you're here today.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most beautiful way you can honor them, is by doing the things that they weren't able to do, because that's the whole purpose of, all their efforts, is so that you could.
So one time I had a medium connect to my grandma Dolores. And Dolores was born in Mexico. And then she moved to Texas. And then she met her husband, and, then all that. She comes through quite a bit, but this one medium told me that she wasn't able to express her gifts, her intuitive abilities. Very, very psychic, very, very, intuitive. And she wasn't able to express that, for all of the fear of her time, right? I mean, this was way back in, like the 20s and stuff. Yeah. And she said that when I am a medium, when I'm in my mediumship, that she steps in so that she can do that through me. Yeah. And she supports it. She adds to the energy. She's like, I couldn't do this, so let's do this together. So, wow. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And I really feel a huge honor when I get to access that energy, because I know that she's with me, and it's like, I get to connect with my grandma too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really cool. Those were really great topics, points, great conversation. Fee, thank you for bringing those to the table.
Yeah, thank you. I love this shit. This
is
easy.
Right? We live for it. Anything that we get to rebel, any capital part of the capital that we get to tear down like we're Katniss fucking Everdeen, we're going to do it.
Tear down the machine.
Okay. Well, friends, what that means then, is that it's time to say goodbye. Okay. But if you want more of this, let us know. Send us emails and say, you know what I really loved about this? Could you talk about that? Blah, blah, blah. But what really helps us, if you enjoyed today's episode, is please share on your stories, subscribe, leave us a review, like share, get the word out, tell your friends, like help us grow. This helps our podcast grow, but also it helps us bring you these episodes on a weekly basis and not having to bring in sponsorship and stuff like that, which, you know,
Yeah.
we'd like the dough from a sponsorship, but we don't want to always have to say the commercials. I don't. Fioraliz doesn't care, but so.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for hanging out with us today. Stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do, especially the church.
Decolonize.
Bye.